attraction all day long with different people down the States and Australia. I find it amazing how we take something so ubiquitous and by default, and the moment we try and learn it, because we think it's something we don't have and we must learn it from outside. Hi Sarah, how are you, dear? Thank you for coming. The moment we try and learn it, that's when we screw it up, and we'll make all kinds of ups and downs and all kinds of misconception about it. Let me ask you a question. While we're waiting another couple of minutes, let me ask you a simple question about the law of attraction. Tonight's topic is not the law of attraction, but I've been talking all day trying to clarify this misunderstanding about the law of attraction. Let me ask you a question. Suppose you're planning to go for groceries tomorrow. You plan to go see your sister, you plan to go see your mom. What must you do? So you start now and you start planning. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. or between 3 and 5 p.m. I'm going to the superstore and going to buy groceries. Correct? That's statement number one, which equals to placing the order when it comes to the law of attraction. Number two, you're going to most likely already envision yourself pushing the cart. And you most likely already envision yourself, I'm going to pick the red peppers and some cucumbers, some tomatoes, some chicken. Oh, can't forget the candy, of course. You are already focusing, you're already imagining, visualizing, and you're going to say, and I'm going to spend between $100 and $200. So you're already planning, you're already visualizing yourself going to the grocery store. And perhaps you visualize that you're also going to buy yourself one of those Magnum ice creams. Those are my favorite. And getting out of the store, you're going to unwrap one and you're going to eat one while you're driving home. Think about that. So that is the feeling, the sensation of the law of attraction. And so you also know that things on this level do not respond immediately. In other words, the groceries ain't going to materialize on your countertop in the kitchen, but you must wait until tomorrow because now it's dark and you're going to have to go and pick up the groceries, and it takes time. In other words, there is the law of gestation. Well, let me ask you a question, you guys. What other law, if not the law of attraction, did you just use to get yourself groceries? What else did you use? Is there anything else? There is nothing else. So you see, you guys, the law of attraction, we use it all the time. Right now we're using the law of attraction. This is using the law of attraction. Thinking of making a tea and savoring, anticipating the taste of the tea, the lemon, the zest. It's the moment I envision making myself a tea, I'm already starting to use the law of attraction. The moment I envision myself going to sleep tonight, I'm using the law of attraction. The moment I plan for tomorrow, I'm using the law of attraction. So you see, you guys, the reason why we use the law of attraction all the time is because there is nothing else out there. You cannot possibly not use the law of attraction. How else are you going to go to the grocery store to sleep tonight if you don't use that imagination, planning, and doing it? You are using the law of attraction. So why is it then that we're trying to learn something which we already know by default? Think about it. Do you need to learn how to walk or eat? Think about, you eat every day, you know exactly how to eat, but then you buy a book that is going to teach you how to eat your food. Think about it. And you become self-conscious, and you become, oh, am I doing it right, or should I try this way? Oh, they're saying that I should eat slow. Geez, I've been eating wrong all my life. Think about it. So now you're going to be afraid of even eating because the book told you that it's a complicated thing. So what I'm trying to say, I'm just making fun right now. What I'm trying to say is, try not to see the law of attraction as something you must master, but instead is something you should be grateful for. Because you've been using all of your life unknown to you, and now that you become aware in the last few years, you're trying to learn it. You don't need to learn it. Simply learn to use it for your own good and the good of your friends and the good of others. Never take advantage of other people. Never ever, with law of attraction or not. So that is the difference. If you've created things that you are less satisfied, things that you don't like in your life, you created them, unfortunately, by using the law of attraction. So the difference between becoming aware of the law of attraction is that to understand that the law of attraction is a super powerful, a very powerful, the most powerful of all actually, tool in the universe. It's actually the only thing in the universe. And so the way you use it can be either beneficial or detrimental, depending how you use it. That's what we need to learn about the law of attraction, not about using the law of attraction. We already know how to use it. We need to learn how to use it for good, for the good of us, ourselves, and others. So, let me give you an example, perfect example right now. I've been coughing for the last half an hour. Not heavy, but just a little. And I'm even, I felt a couple of shivers 10 minutes ago. Now, let me ask you a question. Right this very moment, I can tell myself, Marco, you're getting a cold. Marco, I think you're getting a cold. What will happen? Think about it. That this very moment, I'm right on the edge, on the fence, where I could either get sick or not. Because I've done this many, many times. Many times, before I go to sleep, I felt a little bit of a shiver. Because, you guys, I shake at least 100 hands a day. At least. And people don't always wash their hands, right? And the thing is that the kind of guy that I am, I just shake everybody's hand. I don't think about it. I don't worry about it. Because I think of myself as healthy. So I come home at night and I have a shiver a little bit, sometimes a little bit of scratchy throat. At that point, it can go either way. If I start feeling sorry for myself, I think I'm getting sick, I think I'm shivering, put a blanket on top of me, I put the furnace up. Well, guess what? The next morning I'd be sick like a dog. Instead, you know what I do? I just tell myself, it's nothing. I take a zinc, some vitamin C and some vitamin D, just because it makes me feel better. And I just shake it off and I go to sleep, and the next morning, brand new. Not even a hint of it. Think about it. The atoms in your body rearrange based on your thoughts. It's as simple as that. I've done this thousands of times. When I used to have a band, we used to play, especially New Year's Eve. Oh my God. We used to play New Year's Eve all night, sweating like pigs, because in a night, I was singing an average of 40 to 50 songs, plus playing the piano. So you finish at 2 a.m. in the morning. Now you're tired, like you've been standing on your feet for 7-8 hours. But now people leave, they pay you, but now you must take the equipment apart. And it's -30 outside. And you got to put everything in your truck or in your van. So of course, my friends, most of the times, will have a guitar, the drummer, but I being the leader of the band, the full equipment was mine, the keyboards, the cables, the lights, the speakers. So they will leave they will happen most of the times, but by the time we finish loading everything in the truck, so you're sweating inside, you gotta go outside -30. By the time we finish, it'll be 3:30 p.m. I will go home and I will be literally finished. Like no energy left, because when you're performing on stage, it's the adrenaline that keeps you going, but once you crash, it's like you cannot even lift a finger. Well, you can get so sick because your body is literally completely out of energy. But instead, and I wouldn't even go to sleep that night, because if you go and sleep that night, you're gonna be so sick, Because what happens is you can still hear the drums and the music all night long, and all you're going to do is get a big heavy head, and you're simply going to be sleepy. So instead of what I would do is stay up all night, make myself a nice hot tea with lots of honey, lots of lemon, so that gives you lots of energy. And then around 6 a.m. when I was like calm down or relaxed, I would meditate, and then I would go to sleep for like 10 hours. I would crash out Sunday. Usually we played on Saturday and Friday nights. Anyways, back on topic. What I'm trying to say is your thoughts totally affect your body and the way whether you're going to get sick or not. So let's talk about tonight's topic. The problem I find is, and I talk to a lot of people in the know, that is, the problem I find is that we've been misinformed. And unfortunately, we've been misinformed for over a century. I had to tell you this. And the reason being is because they have given us the technology that they should have given us when it was available. We would be 100, 150 years ahead of where we are. No one will have to work. No corporations will exist. No banks will exist. No governments will exist. As I mentioned before, approximately 1850, that's 1850, you guys, is when the first anti-gravity devices were already discovered. By the early 1900s, Nikola Tesla and other scientists of the time had found ways to use electricity from the air. In other words, suck the electricity out of the air, because they understood that the universe, it's all electricity. And they proposed, the governments of the time, look, we can give every American free electricity. Well, how come free electricity? Well, because the universe is electricity, we can simply suck it out of the air. Yeah, but don't we have to build like different mechanisms? And no, we don't. You simply stick two graphite rods in the air, and the graphite rods, depending on the position, will absorb the electricity from the air. And Nikola Tesla, as a matter of fact, if you research the Arrow, A-R-R-O-W automotive plant, went out of business a long time ago, and there's a reason for it. He did a test at the Arrow automotive plant where he drove. They took a car of the time, this is 1910 or something like that. They removed the engine, the gas engine, and he installed an AC motor, an electric motor. On the passenger seat, he had a box that he built, a wooden box, with some vacuum tubes from like an amplifier, and some graphite rods and some wires. And he connected this device to the electric motor in the engine compartment, and he went to drive that vehicle for 3 full days without stopping. Of course, he stopped once in a while, for 3 full days without a drop of gasoline in it. Now, Nikola Tesla at the time, but guys, you can make this research, don't take my word for it. There is a company right now that is offering $1 million to anyone who gives them some information about how Nikola Tesla did it. So what Nikola Tesla did was that he absorbed the electricity from the air through the graphite sticks. Graphite is the same material they make antennas inside AM radios, those black sticks. It's carbon, basically, graphite. It's the same material inside your pencil, okay? And then through the vacuum tubes, he amplified the electricity that he was sucking from the air over and over and over. I believe he used 8 tubes. And by the time it was onto the last tube, it would double every time, and it was more than enough to drive the car around the track for 3 days. Talk about Tesla cars that you need to recharge them every night. The guy at the time, Nikola Tesla, was already 100 years ahead of Elon Musk, for as a genius as he is. In other words, he didn't need to recharge the car every night. He simply sucked the electricity out of the air. Now, of course, at first, the journalists, the reporters of the time, because he invited everyone, were mesmerized. Were like, how did you do this? And Nikola Tesla thought, I'm finally going to get recognized and I'm finally going to make some money out of my project, because until now, I've been giving everything I invented. I invented the motor, I gave it to Westinghouse and he paid me 2 pennies. I invented the light bulb and I gave it to Edison. He paid me 2 pennies and he took the credit for it. So everybody thinks Edison invented the light bulb. Instead, Nikola Tesla invented the light bulb. So, and he says, I'm finally going to get recognized for this. Instead, the next day, what they put in the paper was everything bad. In other words, they accuse him of witchcraft. They accuse him of he can talk to the devil. Anyways, they destroyed him. So Nikola Tesla got so pissed and so disappointed, he went back in his lab. He destroyed the machine altogether. And basically, after that, he simply gave up on trying to convince the media and governments, politicians, where things can be given for free, because they are free. The universe ain't charging us for electricity. Why is it that they sell it to us? So basically died broke and disappointed in his hotel room. A lot of people don't know about Nikola Tesla, but today, you guys, you wouldn't have anything just about if it wasn't about Nikola Tesla. Well, let me ask you a question. Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian inventor of the late 1800s, well, he made the very first wireless phone call from, I believe it was from Paris to New York, wirelessly. Think about it. What about the radio? Same thing. I believe Marconi invented the radio too. What about Leonardo da Vinci? Helicopter in the 1600. You guys, when you really think about it, even 100, 150 years ago, we had technology that if they had given it to us as it was discovered, we would be 100 or 200 years ahead of where we are right now. So instead, what happened is that they decided to put everything under covers, under blankets. They decided, look, if we give people this technology, if we give them a microwave oven already in 1900, I mean, microwave ovens became available to us in the 70s, for God's sake, or in the 80s actually. Well, they had microwave ovens already in the early 1900s. Think about it. So what's been happening is that they kept technology which belonged to us in the first place hidden from us, because instead of them giving you this whole pen all at once, as they should have, and then give you a better pen and a better pen and a better pen, they give it to us one little piece at a time. Why should I sell you a computer that is 10 gigahertz all at once? Instead, I'm going to sell you 1 gigahertz, 1.1, 1.22. Geez, I remember when we got to 1 gigahertz about 20 years ago, we were so happy being in the computer industry. Well, you guys, the question I always ask is, if your fastest computer today is 5 gigahertz, roughly speaking, do you think it is a 5 gigahertz computer building that computer? To build a 5 gigahertz computer, making it commercial and making it usable, you must use a computer that is at least 100 times that powerful, because you cannot build one at a time, and the same technology cannot build the same technology. So the technology that they have is at least 100 years ahead of our little puny computers and microphones and television screens. It's as simple as that. So the problem is this, though. Until technology was catching up, or until we were catching up to technology, things could be kept under wraps relatively easy. In other words, they kept us in riding the horses for so many decades. Then they made this cars. Well, instead they already had flying cars. Then they made airplanes when they instead had what they call UFOs. Then they made rockets when they already had transporters. You see, you guys, this is something I've never forgotten and I will never forget. When I came to Canada in 1983, in Toronto, I believe it was in the airport or outside of the airport, 1983, there was an electronic show, some kind of display, and I saw my very first holographic television. I literally saw the people in the movie. It was a John Wayne movie, up in the air, and you could put your hand right through it. Now my question to you is, where is that technology today? Yeah, we've seen a little bit on CNN, we've seen snippets of it, but if we already had holographic televisions in the very early 1980s, think of what we have 42 years later, for God's sakes. So they keep us using these flat screens and these stupid same technology we've been using for decades. But what they have is 100 times higher. So how do we connect this to 5G? Of course, you understand that I can only divulge so much information because I don't want to get shut down, right? But I summon your intelligence and your perception and your psychic ability to understand what in between the words. So what I'm trying to say is that if they had given us the technology as it was due, as it was discovered, today everybody would be wealthy, everybody would be healthy, governments would not exist, politicians would not exist, the banks would not exist. Do I need to say anything else about that? So that's a given. So in order to maintain that system that they had profited from for centuries, they kept us, giving us one drop at a time. However, as they can no longer keep things under wraps, I mean, they can say that these flying saucers come from outer space, and they think about this. This is the craziness. So a flying saucer, an UFO, bolts and nuts UFO, flies 100 billion light years at 10 times the speed of light. In other words, they have that kind of technology, those friends of ours in space, and then they crash on planet Earth. For God's sakes, they have such technology to fly 10,000 light years, but then they can even land on planet Earth and they crash. Think about it. You guys, we must wake up. These crashed UFOs are military's machines. So they keep in selling us the stupid F-18s to keep us, same idea with computers, rather than selling a 50 gigahertz computer as they should and they could, they give you a 1.5, 2.5, 3, 3.1, and so on and so forth. Because they can sell it over and over and over instead of giving it to us all at once. So they do the same thing with weapons, and they do the same thing with every other machine. So they keep our governments buying these stupid F-18s. In the meantime, they have machines which are not even visible to F-18s. I mean, they literally disappear from radar. So when we see these things, because of course they must test them, we assume, because they don't look like airplanes, so they look spherical, they look cylindrical, they look triangular, we report it as a UFO. But those are, it's our technology, industrial technology complex making these things. The only real UFOs that don't belong to us are only one kind, the flying lights. Flying lights are not from us, are from other, not planets, but frequencies, next door frequencies. They are here with us, but if we are in frequency 101, they're in frequency 102. It's like television channels, and not by chance like television channel. Everything is channels. So we operate in this channel, and they operate in another channel, still here, but in another channel, so they're invisible, we cannot touch them. But because they're perhaps more advanced than us, they're sending probes. And the only way they can send these probes are lights, because a light is always a light regardless on which channel it materializes. So those are the real UFOs. So because they can no longer keep technology under wraps for much longer, because number one, the geezers at the top are literally dying off of old age, number one. Number two is because more and more Elon Musk mentality is telling us, hey, everything is free. Why are we buying this stuff? Why are you selling it to us? So Elon Musk was interviewed in China at a technology conference, and the host asked them, how would you resolve our electrical problems? We do not have enough electricity for the entire country of China. And he says, to be honest with you, it's so easy, it's not even funny. And she says, what do you mean? Well, he says, you know how many times I propose your government simply take a piece of desert, China has lots of empty land, a piece of desert the size of Texas, and fill it with solar panels, and resolved, done. She says, you mean done? Yeah. You will not have, not only you will not have any electricity problems anymore, but you will have 3 times what you need, and you could sell it to your neighbors. And she says, so why is our government not doing it? And he says, that's the same question I'm asking. Elon Musk was also interviewed by Matt Damon at the Tesla factory. He asked a similar question. Why are we struggling with carbon, fossils, fuels, and oil, and this and that? He says, Matt, he says, we can take a piece of land, he says 2 or 3 times the size of Texas, and we can resolve our energy problems pretty much within 1 year. And he says, you mean you could just plaster a piece of land with solar panels and the United States will have no more energy problems? Oh, no, he says, not the United States, the whole planet. The whole planet. And he was like blown away. So the question we must ask is, we have the technology. It's actually fairly easy to implement, but they prefer not to. So we don't need to worry about the technology. We need to worry about why not. So the why not is because, of course, if they will give us everything for free, what will happen? Well, simple. The money flow stops. For as long as we have a system that relies on the money circulation, you ain't getting what you should be getting. But at the same time, what's happening is this. Technology can only be held hidden for so long because it's actually preventing them from using it to their advantage. Because they have these technologies that they could implement to better their system as well, those in control. And they cannot freely do that because they would be discovered. They would be say, but wait a minute, you had this and instead you're giving us this? Think about it. So, what is 5G? This is going to surprise a lot of you, but and I'm going to use certain vocabulary because again, I don't want to get shut down. Have you noticed how in the last 10 or 15 years, you have a conversation with your friends, perhaps your phone is on the table, you're having a conversation with your friends, and you talk about, this happened to me actually. I told this client of mine, Jesus, those are really nice running shoes. Wow, they were white with red stripes. Oh yeah, he says, yeah, I bought them such and such, think he says Canadian Tire. So, of course, I wasn't thinking about buying running shoes. I didn't need running shoes. But the moment I made a comment about his running shoes, I come back downstairs on my computer, and my computer starts popping up with advertisement about running shoes and Canadian Tire. I said, but wait a minute. I says, I just mentioned running shoes upstairs with a client of mine. Can this be a coincidence? Of course it's a coincidence, I said. But then the next day it happens again. And then the next day happens again. This is 10 years ago. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Your telephone is listening to you and is sending through the network in the house information to the advertisements. And so as you scroll through Instagram, Facebook, and Google, you're going to see, like, for example, let me give you an example. Just yesterday morning, I received an invitation by a seminar in the Philippines. Marco, could you come and speak at our seminar? I says, well, let me know the details and I will let you know if it fits in my schedule. That's all. It was simply a message in Messenger. All day long today, I'm getting advertisement for tickets to the Philippines. Hello? Like, yes, Kadeline, but we're going to take it one step further. So this listening to us talk, it's been around for 15 years. Your television listens to you, your microphone, because everything is networked together, you guys. We know this. There's no point hiding it. But what is the next step? What is the next step from that? Because we get used to that. So the pros and cons of listening to us talk is that basically their advertisements are much more targeted. If you remember, before 20 years ago, advertisements were more random. So they simply shoot a bunch of advertisements out there, and then they look at how many people click on it and say, okay, so in this area of the city, people are most likely to buy this type of cars or this type of shoes based on your household income and so on and so forth. That was the way it was done before, because I wasn't advertising myself. I was the publisher of a magazine in Ontario. So lately, the target advertisements are much more effective, because if they hear me, possibly I might go to the Philippines in the next month. Well, why would they want to advertise a trip to Germany to me when I'm actually entertaining the idea to go to the Philippines? Think about it. So it's much, much more effective. But what this, of course, does is it makes you feel vulnerable, where you have no more privacy, because they are literally listening to you. So are they listening to you while you are having sex? Are they listening to you while you're having an argument with your wife, your husband, your kids, whatever? Yes, they are. You might as well get used to it, because they are. Now, what is the next step? The next step, logically, is 5G. So what does it do? What it does is that, I'm going to have to watch my words, you no longer need to speak it. I hope you understand me. You no longer need to speak it. So, and I've noticed this more and more and more in the last year since it's been implemented. I've noticed this more and more and more. And then I asked my son, he's in another city, I said, have you noticed such and such? He says, yeah, he says, I thought it was a coincidence, but now you mention it, it's true. And this is happening more and more and more. In other words, all you have to do is, without speaking it, and you are picked up by the environment around you. It's as simple as that. So when you think about it, this whole COVID thing, this whole refurbishing, I have to use certain words, I apologize, you guys. This refurbishing of society, a lot of people call it right? So not only it has to happen, but it's unavoidable. It is because they kept all of these goodies from us for 50 to 100 years. So we thought that our fastest car would be a gasoline car. You guys, your gasoline car is using the exact same technology as the first 1903 gas engine, for God's sakes. It hasn't changed. Our cars should be anti-gravity. They should be electric. They should not electric from your outlet, but they should be fueled by electricity in the air. They have that, but they're not giving it to us. So right now we should have highways that are alive. Highways where you drive on glass, and the glass underneath has sensors where it knows your speed, your direction, your tire pressure. Not only that, but it knows the temperature in your car, and even knows if anybody in the car is sick. And the pavement, which is made of glass, should know your route. It should drive your car without you touching anything. It should avoid any accidents. And if it knows, the glass pavement should warm up automatically so that there's no melts. Everything you need to drive should be under your vehicle, should be on the pavement. We have that technology, and satellites would direct the entire show. You in the house should have a microwave looking machine, which you will have very soon, by the way, where without any ingredients, you simply tell the machine, make me a pepperoni pizza. And the machine will tell you, yes, sir, here is your pepperoni pizza. Because a pepperoni pizza, just like a chicken or a steak or a piece of salmon, is made of atoms. And the air around you is made of atoms, and you are made of atoms. So all this machine is going to do is assemble the atoms in the air and make you a salmon steak. We already have that technology. So this notion of everyone getting sick with you know what, did what to us? What it did to us is, number one, it made the powers that be trillions of dollars, number one. Because the people would tell us, look after us, pay them very easily trillions of dollars, because of course they get a kickback for themselves. Because if that weren't the case, you explain to me why a country like Canada that only has 29 billion people, 29 million people, needs 600,000 things. I mean 600 million. You have 29 million inhabitants and you purchase 600 million. Why? Not of the first and second or third. I'm talking the first one. But not only that, knowing full well that within a couple of months they were going to expire. So I guess the only way you can do it, you can use them, you go in the bush and every tree you give them a shot. Why do you buy 600 million if there are only 29 million of us? And then of course another 600, another 500 million on order. And it blows my mind. Of course, we know the reason. Not only that, but the idea of keeping everybody scared and at home did what? Think about it. Do you see how much at first we were all concerned about, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. Oh my God, no, I don't want to be replaced by computers. I don't want to be replaced by robots. I go at the supermarket and there is no more till. There's all automatic tellers. And we were complaining. We were all afraid about losing our jobs, right? But now we love it. Now we love it, and they pay you to stay home even. So this whole passage, this whole excuse was put together, and it took him 15 to 20 years to come up with it. Otherwise, you tell me, why would a certain doctor that everybody knows, whose name starts with the F, in an interview in 2016 said clearly, I guarantee you that within 2 years, we're going to have a worldwide pandemic, the likes of which the world has never seen before. So in other words, in 2016, he already knew what was going to happen in 2019. Think about it. Anyway, I'm not upset, because actually it is the only way it can go. So this whole thing was made, prepared 10, 15 years ahead of time, because a lot of people don't realize that this thing that starts with the C and it ends with the D was actually discovered and made in the First World War. It was made to weaken the opposite army in the trenches. Okay? So it's been around forever. It's actually found in nature, but it was used for the first time in 1915 or 16. So the point is, this whole plan was put together so that the next phase of technology could be implemented. So what they achieved is, number one, they made trillions of dollars. Number two is that they experimented and they found out how long can people stay home without complaining. Because did you see, for the first year we had no problem, for the second year so, but now that's it, enough is enough, we want to get out. So they know now that they can only keep us home for about 2.5 years at most. And not only that, in the meantime, other things were achieved. Most people don't realize that the planet atmosphere is 2,000 years cleaner than it was 2 years ago. In other words, the air around planet Earth, on planet Earth, purified itself, because of course, without driving, without airplanes, without polluting it, the Earth had a chance to clean itself, to fix itself. The ozone layer closed. A lot of people don't know this. Do you remember the big hole on the ozone layer? It's now closed. And the air is as pristine as it was 2,000 years ago. So all of this was done on purpose. It was pre-engineered. At the same time, as you can see, a lot of people don't even want to go back to work now. Think about it. Everybody says, oh, I work from home and I love it. I no longer complain about a robot taking my job. But that's exactly what they want us to do in the first place. So if you understand that, and that's pretty easy to understand, you need to know and understand that there is something which we need. We need a OS, an operating system. The operating system which basically ties this whole thing together. So what ties this whole thing together, because whether you like it or not, you have thoughts. And your thoughts are connected to other thoughts. And whether you like it or not, the law of attraction is a thing, and the law of attraction does exist. And they know this for hundreds of years. So what's happening is that this whole thing is coming together. So in other words, we're understanding the law of attraction. That's why we're talking about every channel and every TV station and every internet website is now talking the law of attraction. And we are understanding more and more that thoughts are things, literally. They're not abstract, but they are. Seth says thoughts are things waiting to be materialized. Simple as that. So you think of something, you keep on thinking, and it materializes. It uses the atoms around you, energized by your thoughts, and it materializes. Hence the law of attraction. So, thoughts are things. Our thoughts are all together, meaning we all communicate mentally. We're all one. What does that sound like? To me, it sounds like a network. In other words, our thoughts are networked. So if our thoughts are networked, and they are networked, the powers that be need a way to control it. But I don't want to make it sound all negative. Because when we say control it, it sounds as if they can basically mind control you. Well, they can. They can. You see, it amazes me when somebody, for example, give you an example, a criminal is talking to another friend about committing a crime on his phone, thinking that nobody's listening to them. Every word you say is constantly being monitored, not by people, but by computers which pick up red flags. You see what I mean? If you mention the word, for instance, bomb, 15 times in a conversation, the computer, every time you say that word, it sends them red flag, red flag, red flag. At the end of the conversation, it analyzes, wait a minute, they said that the word 15 times, we've got to look into it. That's how it works. It's not that people are listening to you. It is the computers listening to you, and based on the algorithms, based on the type of words that you use, and other things such as tone of voice, irritability, are you nervous, are you happy? Computer says, this guy sounds nervous, and it mentioned that word that starts with the B 15 times within the last 2 minutes. Go check him out. That's how it works. But of course, depending on which side of the fence you stand, to you, this whole thing might sound such as mind control or salvation. Because my question is this. By the same token, if you are having a heart attack and your doctor gets a signal in his office and it sends you either the ambulance unknown to you, you pass out on the floor and you cannot call the ambulance, but the doctor's office got an alarm because Marco passed out, or if you want to take it a step further, you have nanobots in your system where they can actually fix the problem without even sending an ambulance. Now, do you want to be part of the network? Yes or no? You guys, we cannot have it both ways. We either in the network or outside the network. So I don't worry about it. Number one, because worrying doesn't change a thing. Makes things worse. Number two is because I invite you for just 2 seconds to envision mankind 50 years from now, 100 years from now. Are you still going to worry about them reading your thoughts? You think you're still going to have 5G? You're going to have 50G by the time, in 50 years from now. So no point on complaining. There's no point on worrying about it. It's simply progress. It's the way it's got to go. Pretty soon you're going to be levitating. Pretty soon you're going to be floating around. Pretty soon you're not going to go for trips anymore. You're simply going to put a helmet and you're going to have the same experience as going to Florence for a week. It ain't going to cost you a penny. You just put the helmet on. An hour later you tell your friends, I was in Florence, Italy for a week and I ate the beautiful pizza and I saw the Ponte Vecchio and I went to Pisa and I saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Really? How was it? Jesus, beautiful. You swear you were there, but in reality you were in your living room. And the point, a lot of people say, yeah, but Marco, that's not true. That's not real. Really? Really? So let me ask you a question. When you go to Pisa and you touch the Tower of Pisa, what is made of? Atoms. What are atoms? Light. In other words, there is nothing there. It is your imagination, my dear friends. So all we're going to do is understand and accept that everything is in our imagination, then everything is our mind, then everything is connected, then everything is networked, that we're all one. In other words, we are going to finally understand all of the above, and we're going to use it for our own good. Now, if somebody wants to screw up, which, by the way, you're not going to be able to, because what you see in the movies 20 years ago, it's actually happening now, because the movies are predictor of the futures, they're not fantasy. So when you saw the movie with Tom Cruise, I don't remember the title, where he was a cop, but they thought he was going to kill his wife 20 years later, so they stopped him. Well, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So when your thoughts become common knowledge, number one, you're going to get used to it. Number two is you're actually going to prevent people from getting hurt. So I guess my final thought is, if you cannot do anything about it, not because they are doing it to us, but because it is progress regardless, because being against progress is to stay in the past, and I don't want to stay in the past. Because when you look at it from a positive standpoint, think about the beauty of you don't have to go to work in the morning. You got everything you need. You can do whatever you want. You can travel. You can play on the computer. You can play music. You can sing. You can walk. You can do anything you want, and you're not going to have to pay for anything. So what is there to complain about exactly? We should already have that system, but because it's been delayed to us, we have to get it a little bit at a time. But it is coming regardless. And this 10 years between 2020 and 2030 is the switching over. So prepare, don't complain, don't fight it, because it's coming regardless. It is the future, it's beautiful. And basically what you're showing us is that we truly are all one. Cindy says, I always thought reading thought was bad. No, it's not, my dear. You're already doing it. I still want to physically go to Italy. Absolutely, Kadeline. Me too. I go there every couple of years. Absolutely. But there will be, the day will come very soon where you're going to put an helmet on and you're not going to be able to tell the difference, my dear. You're simply not going to be able to tell the difference, because you're going to smell things, you're going to taste things. It's going to be exactly the same. I've already experienced a virtual reality apparatus. I was blown away. I mean, it was kind of a police kind of thing, you know. When they opened the door and they came with the guns like this, I actually got scared, because, oh my God, because you're there. You are there. So, and that is just the beginning. Think of what we're going to have 20 years from now. So, for as long as there are bad people at the helm, yes, they can use this technology to make money. But once money becomes a thing of the past, then everything is going to be used for the good of everyone. It's as simple as that, you guys. Okay, so I hope that helped a little bit. So don't worry, it's all good. It's all good. Is the atom formation? Catherine, what do you mean, my dear? Is the atom formation? The atom is the basic building block. So if you take light, which the universe is light, and the universe decides to experience less accelerated realms, in other words, light is very fast, oscillation-wise, so it will go like zzz, like that, hence invisible. If it slows its frequency down, see what happens? Do you see how, look, very stupid example, but very effective. You see how you can barely see my hand because it's moving so fast? Now what happens if I slow it down? Do you see that? See how you can see my hand and now you can touch it? So that's the same idea. When you slow down light, it becomes semi-transparent, and then it becomes what we call physical. But all it is just slowed down. So an atom is the first building block, the Lego block of this frequency right here. It's when the atom is the transmutation from the light into the physical. But you know what an atom is made of? Electron, proton, and neutron. In other words, plus, minus, and ground. In other words, electricity itself. So you, my dear friends, are made of electricity. It's as simple as that. Absolutely, Kathleen. You see me in Arizona. I'm excited too. Absolutely. See the people comments. How is that all see manifest the Pisa Tower? Because we agree, my dear. We agree as from the human standpoint to use these things called atoms to make bricks and to build a tower. So in this realm here, atoms assume many forms. Your grass, your land, your car, your house, you are made of atoms. And so are the blocks of marble that made the Tower of Pisa. And so we, our designers, our engineers, our architects decided to do these beautiful works of art. But guess what we use? We use the same thing we can use, atoms. So the way the atoms are arranged determine the hardness of the surface. If the atoms are arranged very packed together, close, and at a certain gridlock kind of arrangement, a surface would be like a rock or a piece of marble. If the atom instead is loosely arranged, then in a certain way, that could be water, it could be air, it could be your flesh, it could be a piece of fabric. But the atom from a piece of fabric and the atom that are inside the marble that makes the Tower of Pisa is exactly the same atom. You could take and change them with each other. Interchangeable. I hope it makes sense. Okay, you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Let me know if anything in particular you would like to talk about. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening.